Alrighty. Now, right now what I want to do is I want to get into the actual creation of our agents. Okay, one of the words, again, part of this is going to be learning how to use the correct language. We're using agents. So you notice here in my pages, I'm going to draw over it and I'm going to go into setup. Because I want to start creating my agents and putting my agents in different places. All right, so what do you think you would do? Well, I would probably do setup under, I don't know, setup and run. And one of the things you can do is you can actually just drag the create thing, the setup thing over here, and I want to create different critters. Now, if I drag up and down and look, I probably will find a button that allows me to make my agent. Now, you notice it's not here in setup. So let me see, where could it be? Well, maybe it's under my blocks. And if I look at, let me see, fish. Oh, yep, right here. Here's a choice. There's two different choices here. One's create fish and one's create fish number do. I think I'm going to do create fish number do. And I'm going to just drag that. And I want you to watch what happens when I drag it into position. Boom, it snaps into position. You probably heard the little snap there. All right, and I want to create Jar Jar because Jar Jar is going to run around and eat fish. So I'm going to say create Jar Jar. And I'm going to drag Jar Jar over here and boom. All right, so I've done a create fish and create Jar Jar. All right, and I've made 10 of each. Let's make fewer Jar Jars. Let's make 2 Jar Jars and 10 fish. All right. Now, the first thing I want you to know, we're going to go over here, space, and you notice what happened? There didn't used to be a button here. Now there's a button. Now, what's going to happen? I go hit setup, and boom. Now, something appeared right in the center of the screen. And one of the things in Space Lane you need to be aware of is that you can change, you can zoom in, and we zoom in, and you can use these arrows to position ourselves. And what happened? Well, interestingly, the turtles that were originally there were there. And you notice I've got both the fish and Jar Jar there as well. There's 2 Jar Jars, and there's the fish. Well, that's interesting, but they're all in the middle. All right, well, let's see what happens when we hit setup again. All right. Now there's more Jar Jars. There's like 4 of them there. Now, how did that happen? Well, it's a very simple thing. All this is telling you to do, this is a command that says, do this. So, what did I tell it to do? I said, create some fish and create Jar Jar. What I didn't tell it to do was get rid of what's already there. So the turtle stayed, and actually, every time I hit this button, more Jar Jar Binkses are going to show up. The reason you're not seeing them is because they're directly on top of each other. So, let's go back to setup, and one of the things I need to do is I need to get rid of everything. So let's go back to setup and run and see if there's a way of getting rid of them. Oh, here we go. Clear all and clear everyone. We're going to talk about the difference between those two. But I want to run clear all before I create my fish. All right, so now we got our new setup. Let's see what happens when we run the setup. Boom. Back to 2 Jar Jars, 10 fish. The turtles disappeared. We don't have the extra fish. All right, but the problem is they're all in the middle. Well, why are they all in the middle? That's because we didn't tell them where to go. That would go under the do thing. And let's see if there's anything that talks about location. Clear all. Doesn't appear to be anything about location under setup. Let's see about movement. Oh, wait a minute. There is something here. Scatter. Let's scatter everybody after we make them. Now, you actually could, under do, put do scatter, create Jar Jars, do scatter. All right, or you can just do it at the end. All right, so now let's see what happens when we do these guys. Isn't that amazing? Now, one of the things I want you to notice, this is the top view here. Okay, if you look down here in the corner, that's the top view. This is the perspective view. It's top view. And look, they're all in different places. All right, let's just zoom. Let's try to zoom out a little bit. Oh, and they're all scattered all over the place. Also, one of the things you can do, if you click, you can drag around in different places. All right. This is my agent. Okay, I just clicked on this guy and this little information box popped up. Watch what happens when I go through and click on Agent I. Whoops, I have to click this guy, sorry. There we go. That's what he's seeing. There's a fish right in front of him. If I go Agent View, you can actually see the agent that I have become. All right, so that's how you create your creatures, all right? And that's one of the first things that we're going to have to do is you're going to have to learn how to create guys. I'd like you guys to experiment with this. I want you to play around and see what you can come up with in terms of making different objects, putting them in different places, scatter. Try do. Look through the setup jar and just see if you can find out what some of these things do. Some of them may be a little tricky. What's the worst you can do? It'll seize up and then you have to restart. Okay, so I want you to experiment with this and see what you can get done.